What's up everybody, Yuji here, and today I have a Ret Paladin comp tier list, kind of. I usually try to do these kind of once per season, and the end of the season's probably coming up pretty soon. At most, there's like 4 weeks left. It's probably like 3 to 4 weeks left of the season currently, so I might as well just talk about the best comps for Ret and just make it so you guys know what to play if you want to get titles and stuff. So the way I usually do this is I have like a tier 1, and those are comps that you can get rank 1 with, and you get are rank 1 viable and are pretty easy to get glad with. Then tier 2 you can get glad with, but it's a bit harder, and then tier 3 glad's possible, but it's rough. And then everything under that I'm not really going to talk about, but I guess you can technically get glad on them, but it's going to be kind of rough. But at the same time, it feels like Ret Paladin can kind of play with almost any class in the game right now and do decently well. So I don't know. So yeah, just gonna get into the list now, I guess. So okay, so this time I'm kind of doing it a bit differently because there's just one comp that is just so much better than all the other comps in the game that you can play as Ret. And I feel like most people already know what that is. It's pretty obvious. And that comp is Rhett Destro. You can play that comp with either a R Shaman or an H Pally. Both of them do really well. They just have slight playstyle differences. If you want to use the least amount of brain cells possible, just play with an R Shaman. You literally just don't have to do anything every single game, and you will win. That's kind of just why the comp is really good. Like, you pretty much can never die if you play it right. You have outs for everything. Hellstone's incredible. Destrolock's practically immortal, and if he gets one cast off, you pretty much win the game. The HPAL version is more of a CC based kind of, like both Pallies play rep, and you just try to spam rep people all game pretty much. And if they end up using a kick on your reps, then you just win because your Destrolock gets a bolt off. The Arshaman one is just you don't die. You have Earth Shield plus a Destrolock plus Hellstone. It's just like dumb. It's a really good comp. Pretty much, if you play that comp and you don't somehow get Glad this season, I don't know how that's possible. It's just that easy. Anyone I feel like can get Glad with this comp right now. But yeah, getting that out of the way, let's get to the more real comps. So for tier 1, the first comp I am having is Ret Shadow Priest. Ret Shadow Priest is a really strong comp. It can beat most things. The only thing is it kind of struggles with locks from time to time, but if you play it well, you can generally beat those teams. Melee creeps can be a bit rough just because it's a Shadow Priest and all, but you just do so much spread pressure that a lot of the time you just get through it anyways. So yeah, it's a really good comp. If you play it really well, you can get rank 1, and you shouldn't have that hard of a time getting Glad with it as well. Next up is Ret Warrior. Ret Warrior is kind of just a comp that I constantly keep putting on the tier 1 spot, even though I really haven't played it much or really seen it that much. But I know for a fact that it's really good. Like, there's Nos, the Ret Paladin. He plays with Baby Rabbits, and the two of them do really well with the comp. They're usually constantly on the front page, and I think they were like 5 or 10 points off of rank 1 last season. It was like super close. It's a really good comp. It does pretty well into Destrolocks because you got a Ret Paladin Warrior. What else would you want to kill a Destrolock? You can play it with either a Disc Priest or an Arshaman. Both of them do well, just they're kind of different. Arsham has more utility with the extra kick and grounding, and you got an extra interrupt kind of with Hex Totem as well. But this Priest has fear and stuff, and has big shields. It's Disc Priest stuff. Both of them are really good for the comp. I haven't really tried the Disc Priest version out myself, so I'm not really as familiar with it. And next up, I can't really say this comp is like tier one, but at the same time, I can't say that it isn't. Like, if anything, I'd put it at like tier 1.5 because it's definitely better than the other two the comps I have at tier two. But I wouldn't say it's as good as the comps I have at tier one as well. And that is Red Hunter. It's pretty much always good every single season. You can always get at least glad with it, I'd say. Um, yeah, it's Ret Hunter. There's not much really to say. You play with either an Arsham or a Disc Priest. I personally prefer Arsham, but that's mainly just because I play Arsham with everything. But Arsham also feels really good into like all the Destro locks, which are the things that you tend to have the most trouble with. Just the extra lockout plus groundings and hex totems just makes it so much easier to stop bolts, and you can play way more offensive than if you were playing with a Disc Priest. Disc Priest, you get the extra CC, the purges, and the big damage. Just whichever one you prefer, whichever one's more available for you, both of them do pretty well. Next up, we got tier two, and as I said before, you can get glad. You can maybe get rank one if you play it really well. Um, but it's not quite as good as the other ones I said before. The first one on that list is Ret DK. You just go full Mongo with this comp. You just do the most damage ever. You can do a lot of things. You can cleave DPS and grip stun healer. You can just run at healer. That's personally how I got glad last season. Just running at healers every single game, all game long, and as bad as it is, it works out pretty well. You can definitely get glad with it if you play it decently well. Next up, we have Rep Boomy. Rep Boomy is kind of weird because Boomies aren't really in the best spot right now, I'd say. Like, they have a few tier 1 comps that they can play. Rep Boomy is actually one of their better comps, I'd say. I've seen a few people playing it decently high, but they're like all the people who play in tournaments and stuff. Like, I saw I think I saw Jaws team playing it, and also I saw Trill playing it at time to time. But I wouldn't really say that they're like gonna try to push as it or anything. I think they're just like practicing it because it does well against tanks, possibly. Not really sure. But you can get glad with it. I feel like it does pretty well. It's a pretty tanky comp, and you got pretty good peels with clones and stuff. Boomy has really good burst damage, and doing that along with like Crusade plus Ret Paladin, it can do really well. And next up, tier 3. I'm not really going to talk about most of these comps too much. I haven't really played most of them myself, but I know that you can do pretty well with them. First up is Ret Ellie. Like, there's no reason why Ret Ellie wouldn't do well. Ellie's a pretty good class. Ret's a pretty good class. You've got the shear, you've got the hexes, you've got the crazy burst damage from Ellie, and plus Ret Paladin doing Ret Paladin things. It just does well. Next up is Red Enhance. I haven't really tested this out. I've been trying to test it out. I just don't really know any enhance summons to play with. But I feel like it could do decently well. Just Crusade plus Lust. That just sounds insane. I just want to see my globals when I'm playing that. It just sounds like a fun comp, and I feel like it can do pretty well because Enhance is massive damage. Ret Paladin is massive damage. Ret Paladin plus Lust just sounds terrifying. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. You could probably get Gladys if you play it well. Next up, Ret DH. It's a lot like Ret DK, just slightly worse. DK does just, I don't know, just the way DK does damage just feels better for the comp. Plus, you got the spam slows and roots on their entire team all game long because Frost DK things. And Grip is also really nice as a gap closer since both of you don't really have the most mobility. It helps compensate for Ret's lack of mobility as well. So Ret DH is just a slightly worse version of the comp. The DH is always going to have way more uptime than a DK would, and it can be easier for them to just sit on healers, and you also have a more available stun, and I don't know if I'd say the burst is better, but it can be, and it's also tankier and has a bit more utility. But it's just the DK's version just feels better in my opinion. It probably is really good against things like RMP because you have so many stops for it with it has a range kick, Plus you have reverse, and you have darkness, and you have your in cap. It's just lots of stops for that comp. Next up, Ret Rogue. You can pretty much play any spec for this, I feel like. Red Assassination, just cleave shit, run at healers, just do the most damage ever. Vendetta plus Wings is terrifying. For the sub version, it's more setup-y. You can 100-0 pretty much anyone with Ret Paladin and the sub rogue. And then Ret Outlaw, it's a bit more setup-y than the other two even, just because it feels like you need good rolls for an Outlaw rogue to really do much. Also, you kind of got to set up for the Plunder Armor and things like that. But Ret Paladin plus Tricks does massive damage, and it's just that alone can sometimes just win a game. And last up, I'll throw in Ret Mage. Like I played Ret Arcane quite a bit at the start of the season, but it doesn't feel the best into things like Destro locks, so I can't really justify putting it any higher up because Destro locks tend to be like most of the things that queue nowadays. It's crazy. But yeah, Ret Mage is decent, not the best. It does really good against everything that isn't Destro locks and doesn't have a Resto Druid. Resto Druids are really rough for it also because, sheeps and stuff. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going to really go into any other the other random comps that I really haven't really seen or would not play really. These are probably the best comps for you to play this season. Obviously, I'd say just stick to Tier 1 if you want to have the best chance of getting titles. Tier 2 can also work. Like Ret DK is really good like last day of the season, like late, almost towards the end of the cutoff because everyone's like super stressed and tilted. If you just run it through healer all game long, it's just gonna tilt them, and a lot of the times you can just win from that alone. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this helped you guys. See you guys next time. Peace.